Well, we begin this morning with a major economic war averted. Mexico has agreed to U.S. demands that it tighten its borders to stop the flow of illegal Central American immigrants from coming into the U.S. through Mexico. The deal spares Mexico from having to pay steep tariffs that were to go into effect next week. Mexico is the United States' third largest trading partner. Those tariffs raised fears that they could cripple some U.S. businesses and raise prices for American consumers on everything from cars to produce. Weijia Jiang is at the White House with more. Weijia, good morning.
Good morning, Anthony. The White House was fully prepared to set these tariffs in motion, but after nearly 12 hours of negotiating yesterday, the U.S. and Mexico reached a last-minute deal. The agreement, however, does not include the most dramatic measure President Trump had been pushing for, which would have made it much harder for migrants to seek asylum in the U.S. Just 3 hours after returning to the White House following his European trip, President Trump made the announcement on Twitter. The tariffs scheduled to be implemented by the U.S. on Monday against Mexico are hereby indefinitely suspended, the president wrote. Mexico, in turn, has agreed to take strong measures to stem the tide of migration through Mexico and to our southern border. The deal came after 3 days of lengthy negotiations to stop the flow of mostly Central American migrants into the U.S. by traveling through Mexico. In a joint declaration, Mexico agreed to increase its enforcement efforts along their southern border with Guatemala, including deploying their National Guard troops. Mexico also agreed to take action against human smuggling and trafficking organizations. And the U.S. will continue to return migrants seeking asylum back to Mexico as they wait for their cases to play out on an expedited basis. Mexico's Secretary of Foreign Affairs said both countries fared well.
I think it's a fair balance because they have more drastic measures and proposals at the start, and we reached some middle point.
President Trump had threatened to impose a 5% tariff on all Mexican goods coming into the U.S. starting Monday. It would have increased by 5% every month, capping at 25% if a deal was not reached.
When you're the piggy bank that everybody steals and robs from and they deceive you and like they've been doing for 25 years, tariffs are a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful word if you know how to use them properly.
Businesses across the country were rattled by the president's threat, including Peter Testa, who owns a produce supply company in Chicago.
It's us that pay. Yes, we have to pay. If you tell Mexico, we're going to charge you 5% more for everything you bring in, so they charge us 5% more. We pay the 5%. I don't know anybody else paying. We pay. And then we have to pass that on to the consumer.
President Trump had always rejected those concerns, and this morning he is tweeting confidence in this deal with Mexico. But if the measures do not do enough to control illegal immigration, both sides have agreed to continue talking and go back to the drawing board to take even further action. Dana?
A very big if. Weijia, thank you very much.